When you're raising daughters, you have to be slow to anger. You have to speak in a way that is calming, authoritative, yet empathetic. So I have two 3-year-old toddlers, three little girls, or two little girls. Shit, just two, two little girls, and they are a blessing. We actually had a photo shoot today, right? So we had a photo shoot today, and it went really well. And I'm noticing as my children get older, as we do different things, as they become who they're meant to be, I'm also evolving as a father. And just like I noticed talking to their mother and just dealing with women in general, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. If you're too loud, it's not going to come off right. If you're too aggressive, it's not going to come off right. You have to treat your daughters and just treat the women in your life with a lot of care if you want them to actually do what you want them to do, and if you want them to do what you think they need to do, right, to be productive. So when it comes to my children, it's made me such a person, such a better man, just being patient, man, just being super patient. Now, I will say this: the more patient I become with women and with my daughters, the less patient I become with men. But one of the biggest things is this. Let's say, because like I said, I have twin daughters, right? Which is a whole nother level of challenges, right? But whenever you get upset, whenever you get angry, whenever you get frustrated with your children, remember, man, they just got here, right? They didn't ask to be here, and they're your responsibility. And you are responsible for making sure that they are productive, happy, healthy women and children, right? I think it's one of the biggest things is that fathers, we have to take our jobs very, 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 very seriously, especially if you're raising daughters. Now, you're going to have hiccups, you're going to have missteps and stuff like that. You're human. Nobody expects you to be perfect. But your hard work will be reflected from your children. For example, when my babies, right, when my girls mess up, they apologize. If they was whining, if they was fussy, they say, "Daddy, I'm sorry I was whining earlier. I just was hungry. I just was sleepy, blah, blah, blah." And that is instilling accountability, right, which is super important in today's world. And where do they get that from? They get it from me. Let's say, and they get it from, their mom. Let's say that we, just do something that, whether it's yelling or just short tempered or whatever, or make a mistake and thought they did something that they didn't do, we apologize, right? And that's something that, me and, a lot of other millennials never got. You ain't getting no damn apology about nothing. That was, you can forget I can apologize. Somebody might take your ass to McDonald's, but they wasn't apologizing about nothing, right? Um, Whether you got a boy or a girl, right? As a child, you have to make sure that you are that example as a man, for sure. Have to make sure that you're that example of strength, calmness, and just being able to shift through the chaos. Because, like I said, I've noticed that when I'm cool, calm, and collected, the whole house is cool, calm, and collected, right? As a man, you have to be, the thermostat, and you got to adjust the temperature. If I just notice if I'm like angry, mad, and in a bad mood, seem like everybody's thrown off. If I'm happy go lucky, everybody's happy go lucky. And noticing that pattern, I'm like, okay, well, I need to be a constant, right? It doesn't need to be one day down in the dumps, one day I'm happy go lucky, next day I'm aggressive, next day, and I am human, right? But I will say, being a dad, you have to put on somewhat of a mask, of a facade, persona. Well, I guess persona is a better way. That you're good because you are, and you have to be. These are children, right? You've lived your life. You've done the shit you wanted to do. And these babies, need you to be strong. These babies need you to be an example of resilience, happy, and how to deal with things. Another example, whenever they get frustrated, whenever they get upset about, something that they feel like they can't do or should be able to do, I just make them work through it, right? Hey, if you mess up, just try again. It's no big deal. Hey, if you mess up, just try again. It's no big deal. And after saying that stuff a million times, that's all they do. They mess up, they just try again. And that's another thing. If you haven't had children yet and blah, blah, and you want to people like, I hate repeating myself. You're going to be repeating yourself when you have kids. You have to, father. Learning comes from repetition, right? That is the father of learning. So you're going to have to repeat yourself over and over and over again. Then you're going to see one day it's just going to click with them. They're going to be doing it on their own. And I'm, a big proponent of 3, 13, 23, 33, 43. As long as I'm on this earth, I'll still be raising my children, right? Giving them tutelage, giving them advice. Once they get grown, all my stuff turns into suggestions. Or at least that's what my belief is. I think that's where some parents mess up, is thinking that, oh, this is still my baby boy, this is still my baby girl. They got to do what I say. No, I can just tell you, hey, baby, if it was me, I would do, X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. If you don't do that, it's up to you. And sometimes, just like in my life, I did a bunch of shit that nobody thought I should do, or nobody, would advise me to do. So you have to understand that it is their life to live. You can give them, parameters, guidelines, boundaries. But once they get grown, for sure, you'll be able to see if all those hours of hard work, all those hours of talking, if that really, are paid off. So when it comes to raising girls specifically, like I said, you have to be that pillar of strength and just a signal and a beacon of morality, just righteousness, right? I know a lot of times now with social media, with all these 40, 50-year-old men acting like teenagers, it's kind of hard to be like, damn, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? And that's one of the reasons that I made this channel and a few other channels. It's just having a different voice, right? A voice of a real man that is raising his children, keeping his family together, and doing the best that he can to, raise wonderful little women. Because if you do not have little girls, it's different, man. It's different. Like I said, you have to treat little girls different. They respond to certain things and they do not respond to other things, right? Aggression and, oh, that's the way shit gonna be. They just don't really respond to that. If they feel cared for, if they feel like, just like I said, women just in general, if they feel cared for, if they feel heard, if they feel seen, they will do what you tell them to do, right? They will follow directions. They will do what they need to do. Now, if you are aggressive, oh, you gotta do what I say because I'm your, I guess that could, work for a little while, but I'm trying to, mold, my children to where they understand who I am, what I'm going for, what I'm not going for, and truly believe that, man, I'm not being an asshole. I'm just doing this because I want what's the best for you. Another thing is this. If you got little kids, I would say open up that line of discussion from the beginning. My children can tell me no. My children can have a discussion. They can explain why, blah, blah. Now, they may still have to do whatever the hell I told them to do, but at least we had a discussion. I understand what you're saying. You understand what I said. We're going to do what I said. I understand what you're saying. You understand what I'm saying. I was wrong. It's happened a couple times. Like, yeah, you're right. You can't do that. That's good. That's cool. And my children are only 3 years old. And that comes from them not being, that's another thing. You have failed, man. You have failed if your children are afraid of you. They respect me, but they are not afraid of me. I don't want them to be afraid of me. And a good thing is we have a relationship to where they know when I'm laughing and joking, they know when I'm not being serious, and they know when I'm being 100% serious, right? But I don't want them to be scared. Oh, daddy home, what are we going to do? That's not a way to really raise your children. So other than that, I think that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.